gives you 4. I think you're covered with green.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. I don't think we have a quorum in person, but we have people online. So I think we are going to start. I just can't. There's no meetings.
She counts for quorum.
Okay, I stand corrected. We do have in-person quorum. Good morning, Madam Chair. Thank you for being here. So I would like to call to order the Strategic Plan Subcommittee. Today's date is Tuesday, September 2nd. And clerk, please call the roll.
Gripe?
Gripe here online.
Mr. Gripe?
Can you hear me?
Molina? Oh, Molina? Sturgis?
Sturgis here. Can you hear me okay?
Pirog?
I'm here.
Bates?
Here.
Stratford?
Present. Okay, we have no minutes to approve.
Hey,
we do
Cheryl,
need
it's Cliff. Can you
attendance
hear me?
requests. So I have Mr. Sturgis and Mr. Gripe. And I think that's it. Is that correct? Oh, and Miss Molina. Okay. Any objections to them being remote? Okay, thank you. Good morning, everybody. And so now we will start with some public speakers. And I have 2. You will each be given 3 minutes.
Cheryl, can you hear me?
Yes, we've got you present.
Okay. You could not hear Gripe.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes, we can now. Thank
Okay,
you, John.
good. Yay.
Okay, John, I think we're good. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Now, our first public speaker is Steve Leffler. Good morning.
Good morning, Steve Leffler. I'll be brief today. We've spoken, or you all have spoken in the past about at the last several meetings discussing whether or not that there should be funding for the strategic plan. And as much as I think it's important, I think that we should save that money and do it ourselves in-house using the help of AI or our own staff. I think we do a better job than doing it with a bunch of their boilerplate information that they use on that the consultants will use on other communities also. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. And our next public speaker is Brian Anderson. Good morning.
Good morning, Brian Anderson, Sugar Grove. Unexpected visit today. I had other business here and was reminded of this meeting. I wasn't planning on speaking, but it is dear to my heart. Those of you that, well, every board member knows who I am as far as public speaking. I was early on suggesting when it was up for a vote, this was not a good use of taxpayer dollars. I think it's $127,500. I may be wrong on that. And we have a budget deficit. We have a budget crisis. We want to save money. We want to make prudent cuts where and when needed. But we went ahead and did what you always do in most cases. Let's figure out how to spend more money. Now we're in a position, and I think several board members, which I'm so thankful for, let's put the brakes on, let's put the pause on. If we can get out of this strategic plan contract, I think it would be highly advisable. And I think that we have much work to do between now and when you make your budget presentation in October and November. There's a lot of ground to be made up. I'll come back and speak more about that tomorrow. But today, with this body, with this group, I'm hoping that you will come to a vote to put this on pause or cancel completely. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we are going to start this morning with a presentation about the program and what's been going on so that we can all be informed. So, Paul, you want to work? Are you going to go first? Or both of you?
Davis?
I think Mavis is going to follow up. Yes. Following up.
Okay. We were asked to give an update on the status of the strategic plan. I've handed out a PowerPoint to everybody here, and I just emailed it to everybody online. So we were asked to kind of describe what the strategic plan is that the county board had authorized back earlier in the year, and then go over the schedule, the timeframe of what's been going on to date. So what does a strategic plan do? It's collecting information from a broad group of stakeholders across the county. The county's really never done anything like this before in terms of collecting information using technology and website, social media type of websites to collect information. It's going to provide information to the county on what is important and not important to the stakeholders who respond to all the surveys and questionnaires and social media sites and focus groups. It will then facilitate the development of objectives for the county. And then the county can use those objectives to direct budget resources and more effectively prioritize budget resources. And it's also going to establish benchmarks for achieving specific objectives. So as you go throughout the year, you can report on the status against particular objectives. The timeline. So back in February, the county board.
Excuse me, Kathy, are we following along with the
Yeah,
handout?
the PowerPoint presentation.
Kath, of the four that are there, just the strategic plan presentation one.
It's the one that says strategic plan update, King County Strategic Plan Subcommittee.
Can we go down on the Zoom to that presentation?
I can,
I think it's
Oh.
the last attachment.
No, that's
everybody,
mine.
It's the
mine,
last,
yeah.
the Zoom one.
It's being sent to IT.
It's in the handout.
Got it. John, when you open it, it does say update.
Yep.
We
Teamwork,
just
guys.
want to
Thank
be able
you.
to follow along with you, so.
I just sent it to IT, so they'll open it up in a second. But just to kind of go over the timeline.
Why don't you wait?
Oh,
Kathy?
sure.
It's
I'll
very
wait.
Confusing. I'm confused.
There we go.
Great.
Thank you.
There we go. So next slide. What was the timeline? So back,
Yes,
go back to the
yeah,
first slide.
Start over again. There we go. Perfect, perfect.
so just going back over the first slide. So a strategic plan is gonna, as part of this process, it's gonna collect information from a broad group of stakeholders. And this subcommittee, one of the things that this subcommittee will provide to this process is identifying who those stakeholders are. There's been a start on that process. It's going to provide information to the county on what is important and not important to stakeholders. It's going to facilitate the development of key objectives for the county. It's going to be used to direct budget resources to the key objectives, and it's going to establish benchmarks for achieving the key objectives. And typically, the benchmarks would be built into a process, built into committee processes throughout the year. So individuals are reporting to committees, to the board, how they're doing against those key objectives. Are they achieving those key objectives or not achieving those key objectives? And or the status of their work towards achieving the key objectives. Okay, next slide. So the project was initiated actually last year. The board approved a resolution asking for a strategic planning process. After that resolution, an RFP was developed and issued. And then a group was put together to evaluate the responses. And out of all those responses, I believe we had 9 responses. Barry Dunn was selected. And then we took their contract to the board, and their contract was approved in February. Then we had a slight delay in getting started. And I'll go over that more on the next slide. So the initiation of the strategic plan started in February, and then the establishment of the governance structure. Actually, I'll go over it now. The establishment of the governance structure over the strategic planning process went all the way through July. So what was that establishment of governance structure? That was the whole process of the board deciding how they wanted to manage this process. And if you recall, the board took a resolution first to the board to create this subcommittee. And then subsequent to that, the board took a second resolution to then name the individuals who would be on that subcommittee. So the consultants didn't really start until after that governance structure was put in place, which was at the July board meeting. Sure.
Back in ancient times here, before anything was going, we were told about this committee, and Ms. Strathman was asked to convene this committee. After that was done and the representative came in here and met with us, oh, no. We want to interview board members and select the appropriate board members to be on that committee. Very done. Okay. I haven't been interviewed. Just all of a sudden, okay, well, pass a resolution, put these people on, it's done. Is that just because they're off in the Pacific Northwest someplace and can't get around to it, or what is that about?
No, that is on the timeline. The outside consultant does not select who is on the subcommittee.
Said they wanted to.
They indicated that they would be interviewing all board members as part of the process. And typically an organization selects its own governance structure. Typically, the outside organizer does not select that.
I agree that's how it should be, but we were told, no, that committee that's been selected has been gathered to be, was going to be, just forget about that because they want to have input on that. And then now they haven't gotten around to it. So we're saying that never happened. But I'm going to judge the rest of this by that truth.
Madam Chair, you want to make?
Yes,
comment?
I believe I have a memory of that, what the truth was. When that was. Okay. When that was brought forward to us, I remember, and it's a little fuzzy, the memory, but I appreciate you bringing this
Long
up. It has been a long time. A lot of water has gone over that bridge. Kathleen brought this up to me, and maybe Paul was in that conversation as well. And I went, no, they have no authority to do that. And I said, that is a job of the board to be able to put together the subcommittee. So I know I said no to that.
Okay, that you said no to that,
And then this committee was chosen.
this kind of happened in July. Okay.
And then that I remember calling and talking to Ms. Strathman about this opportunity, which she willingly, graciously said yes to. And then we talked about what other board members to make sure that it was a nonpartisan representation.
Yeah, I think there was a when the consultant was presenting their work plan, there was a lot of discussion about how the board members were going to be interviewed. And I think in just sort of the quick back and forth, maybe there was a miscommunication, but outside consultants don't pick governance structures for consulting projects typically.
That was my thought when she said it, but she said it and we seem to be supporting it at that point, no matter what we say today.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that we did not let them choose. We know ourselves better. We know who can work together and who can't, and who has something to bring to the table. So I think we'll just move on from that and realize that it was a bit of a miscommunication, because that is what, you're right, Mike, we were told we'd all be interviewed.
John's
So-
hand is up. Mr. Gripe has.
Yes, Mr. Gribe, comment?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I agree with Mr. Linder. That's exactly what I remember. But what concerns me, because decisions can change, is that nobody told any of us that I'm aware, and we could go a show of hands around the room, of any this committee members, subcommittee members, or anybody on the board that was told by anyone that the process was changing. And the only reason this concerns me is I'm looking at the process and the initial stages, having been a consultant in my life for a couple of decades. This is not the way you start a project. So admittedly, I'm not a big fan of what's going on. You know, I love the subcommittee idea, but I'm very concerned about what was said, who said it. We don't need to go into that, but you know, I agree with Mr. Linder is that we haven't started this very well.
And thank you for saying that. I think we all need to acknowledge that we're here for a reset and to start again. And this is something that we really need to talk about as a group. And there was a miscommunication about this, and we need to acknowledge that and then just move forward, is my opinion. So yes, Madam Chair.
If I may address Mr. Gribe. Mr. Gribe, I appreciate your concern, but the full board did pass a resolution with the names of the board members on there. I don't know what your vote was on that. I assume you may have voted yes, since you willingly agreed to be on this committee. So it was full disclosure to the board that a subcommittee was being formed, and then a separate resolution, it was just noted, did come forward with the names of the people on that subcommittee, which the board did approve. So I believe that there may have been, in your perception, not individual phone calls to all board members, but it was public disclosure, and discussion did happen.
No, and if I may, I agree completely with your statement, but I think what Mr. Linder was talking about is that we were all told that after that fact, that the consultant would reach out to all of us, and clearly they weren't really permitted to do that in the governance structure, but nobody ever clarified that. Nobody ever said, oh yeah, we're going to go back to the subcommittee.
Mr. Gribe,
Yes.
Pardon me for interrupting you, but I think that we have admitted that there was a miscommunication, that we were told something that didn't happen, and now we're here to correct and go forward. So I
Okay.
appreciate what you're saying, but let's move on and
Okay.
let's continue with the presentation. So thank you for your information. Kathy, go ahead.
Okay, so right, I think the day after the county board approved the board members who are going to be on the subcommittee, there was a kickoff meeting held between the consultants and staff at the county. The role of the staff who are going to be assisting with this stage of gathering information is just that. It's to gather information, provide it to the consultants, help with sort of all of the background information that the consultant is going to need to do their work. So that is the phase that we're in right now, the gathering information and designing survey stage. Once all of that is accumulated and put together, then we move to the community engagement stage. And I'll go over that in more detail in a second. And then once they have all of that information, they'll move to the analysis and the actual development of the strategic plan document itself, which would be the last phase of this. So if we go to the next slide. So again, just to kind of move through the timeline, the board approved the contract on February 11th. The contract was signed on February 27th. There was an initial kickoff meeting on April 22nd with the entire board. I think it was a committee of the whole meeting where the consultant presented again their work plan and how they were going to go through this process. Then the subcommittee was created on June 10th. The subcommittee members were appointed on July 8th, and then the work group, the internal staff work group, began the work on July 10th. Next slide. So this work team that was put together, myself and Paul Kofer, our grant administrator at the county, are key members of it. So what is the purpose of the staff work team? It's to facilitate collection of documents and stakeholder lists and update survey tools that are going to be used as part of this process. So the work team members have consisted, and the consultant did indicate that this work group should be kept at a relatively modest size, just to help be more efficient about communication with them and the collection of documentation. So Paul Kofer is serving as the project manager for that, keeping all the lists, keeping all the Excel spreadsheets, doing all the emails. So the other members are Heidi Files from Transportation, myself, Michael Isaacson, the Executive Director of the Health Department, Julie Mann, our Public Information Officer, Karen Miller, and Mark Van Kerkhoff from the Development Department. We have also communicated with other department heads as necessary. And we'll be going over the types of information that we're collecting. So we've had 4 team meetings to date. The first 2 on August 7th and the 21st with Barry Dunn to talk about things like what kind of documents we need to collect, to talk about access to their portal so that we can upload documents to their portal, so that we're not emailing documents to them back and forth. Also, we're in the process of customizing a website that will be used to collect information. So they've been asking us for things like, what are your county colors? So that they can customize the tool just for us. And then we had 2 team meetings just last week without Barry Dunn because we need to help customize a survey, which is in your packet today, which will then also be used to collect information. Next slide. So what have we done to date? So to date, we've collected documents for an information and data request. So if you look at all of the attachments, so attachment A is the detailed work plan, which was part of their proposal, but it has their start and end dates on each specific item. Attachment B is Barry Dunn's information request document, and they are asking for things like lists of stakeholders, lists of county board committees and their responsibilities, county board rules, county org charts, budget books, all the typical things that you would accumulate as part of an analysis. And then if you look at that attachment, you will see on there the date submitted, which is the date that we uploaded it to their portal. So we've been working on collecting all of that information. We've also identified to date 6 categories for the social pinpoint ideas wall. So the social pinpoint ideas wall is essentially a website. Think of it like virtual Post-it notes, where anybody who goes to that website, and it's going to be open to anybody who goes to that website can post a virtual Post-it note about what is important or not important to them. And the consultants asked that those categories be limited to 6 categories, which is on attachment C. And this is all of this is a draft because this social pinpoint site has not launched yet. The subcommittee needs to review these 6 categories. I'll just go over those 6 categories. Jobs and economic development, transportation and mobility, public health, public safety and court services, housing, land use and environment, and access to county services. So those are the draft 6 categories that our internal county staff have come up with for review by this subcommittee. We have also been working on a strategic planning stakeholder list, which is attachment D.
Abby, let me ask
Sure.
you, do we have these attachments now in our
It should
packet?
be in your packet, yes.
And are they indicated?
They're labeled. Each one is labeled attachment A, attachment B, attachment C.
In what you handed out this morning?
Yes.
Here.
Chair, there's the
Like that.
first page of it.
Okay, thank you. Okay,
The stakeholder list, this I think is really draft, but this is a list of anybody that it should be considered a stakeholder, which includes all the county board members, the directors of the departments, the elected officials, and so on. And then they want us to rank these stakeholders high, medium, and low so that they can incorporate all these stakeholders into their process, whether it be one-on-one interviews, which they do plan on interviewing every single county board member, or whether they should interview some of these other stakeholders one-on-one or in focus group sessions. But this stakeholder list is where the subcommittee really needs to weigh in and provide. I'm sure this list is just a start. So please take a look at that list. It's attachment D. Then we have attachment E, which is in addition to the social pinpoint site, there's going to be a survey. Again, this is just a draft survey. It
I'm lost.
says draft.
This is E.
At the top, it says county priorities. It's a series of questions. And these questions don't have to be the questions. This is a draft document for review. If there needs to be more questions or less questions or different, or the question needs to be asked differently, this is for the subcommittee to weigh in on, but it's, this work team was able to take the template that was provided to us by Barry Dunn, and then we customized it for Kane County. So that is the draft survey tool. So next slide. So the strategic plan schedule, the data gathering phase is the phase that we're in now. We've been gathering documents for the consultants. As I mentioned, annual reports, other planning documents. We've been designing data collection documents, identifying stakeholders, and the subcommittee ensures the value and the task quality. So this subcommittee will moderate and review responses and review these deliverables. I would say that these tools that are in development should be considered deliverables that this subcommittee should review. Next slide. Then the next phase will be the interview and survey phase. The one-on-one interviews would begin next week. They will be conducted with all county board members, department directors, and other key stakeholders. The social pinpoint site should be launching soon. And it will include engagement tools and ideas board and discussion forums. And it will provide information to the public about the strategic planning activities, and it's collecting public input. Then the surveys, the customized surveys would go out the following week. And they would use this social pinpoint system to collect responses and promote. And then community forums. So Paul, did you want to talk a little bit about the community forums and what is planned at the end of October? This is where Barry Dunn plans to come in and.
Kathy, excuse us, we have a question before we
Question.
get to
Yep.
that.
Just a technical question. The social pinpoint, it says week of 9/2. That's right now. How far along is that? Is it ready to be launched?
It is not ready yet because one of the things we would want this subcommittee to weigh in on those 6 categories
Okay. Okay.
of ways to focus input from stakeholders.
But is the platform ready?
The platform, it's their tool. They own the tool. They use it on all of their,
So it's already prepared. So we just have,
but it's not live yet.
okay, so
It's not live
I
yet.
was just more concerned about the technology of the platform.
Yeah.
Rather than the content, because the content can be uploaded. Okay.
I
thank
would
you.
say it probably won't launch until later this week or early next week.
Because we have to work on those categories.
Yeah.
Yeah, Madam Chair. I think the categories need some revision, so.
Okay, okay. I think we can discuss that after
Sure.
the
Sure.
end of the presentations,
Mhm.
but yes, I agree.
Or take it offline.
Or
Whichever.
pardon me?
Or take it offline if that's more
Yeah,
convenient.
one or the other, but let's continue with the
Sure.
Yeah, the community
presentation. So
forums.
Paul, you were going to talk to us about the community.
Yes, during the week of 10/27, Barry Dunn will be on site to conduct some community forums in the area. This will be downstream from the stakeholders that are identified during the beginning of the environmental scan process, I suppose you'd call it. So we'll have some events distributed throughout the county, hopefully to solicit input from members of stakeholder groups, and they can be anyone that we we can constitute those groups any way that we want, pretty much. So if we want to target, say, in a certain area, you want input from the elderly, maybe people that live in retirement homes, you can target a community forum just to, seek out those people specifically and get their input.
You can just talk to John Gripe on that. What are you talking about?
Right.
Yeah.
Is that another grumpy old man?
Harassment. Let's continue with the meeting.
But yeah, it'll be important for this subcommittee to look at, what groups do you really want to target? Who do you want to, highlight on that list of stakeholders? And then who do you want to be, followed up with when we go out and we do the community forums? You will hopefully want, geographic coverage of the entire county. So you could do a north, center, south kind of thing. You could do an urban, rural, you can slice it any way you want. But I think, a thorough listing of community groups in order to get a representative sample that will then provide input back to your plan. So you're getting the most complete data set possible. That's something that's going to be really important. And I believe that it'll be a sort of situation where they fly out Monday, they start work on Tuesday, and they do Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then they take off again. So you've got a more or less 3-day window with a little bit of squish in there if you really need it. For them to come out to kind of selected sites, hold these town halls, get input, and then report that back into the document.
So the plan is that they would run the town halls?
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
okay.
would more or less we would have to kind of facilitate them, say,
Yes,
go
sure.
here, do this, here's the keys to the room. But yeah, they would actually be running the meetings themselves.
Excuse me, Paul.
Madam Chair?
It's going to be known publicly that
One
these meetings are
second, Mr.
taking place.
Surges.
Yes, well,
So members of the public, if Mr. Anderson from the back of the room wants to attend, he can.
yeah, there'll be public meetings.
Okay, Mr. Surges, you had a question or a
Yeah,
comment?
Cheryl, I'm just curious what those, and I have been involved in these in the past, in a different life as a village trustee, but I'm curious what the input that they're seeking is there just an overview they can kind of give it? What are they asking? What are they looking for? When they say we're going to go to the elderly out in the public, and John, thank you for being a good sport, but what are we actually asking the public for? And I mean, the biggest thing is I think, if this is, a few $100,000 study,
Whoa.
what are we going out there?
Not that much.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. What are we asking them? I'm not getting the gist of that.
Well,
So tip,
Pardon me for jumping in, but I think that's what we're here for, Cliff, is we are here to craft what we give, our directions that we give to the contractor.
Okay,
so that
fair
they
enough.
know.
Thank you.
Right? Is that not correct?
yeah, I was just going to say, and typically the way that they are, the way that these strategic plans are run, as part of how this process is staged, this initial phase is this, I'll call it this wide spectrum, broad spectrum of data collection, open to the public, a website, information is going to pour in through the social pinpoint site with those virtual Post-it notes and with surveys. And then they also have, the consultants also have all of the documents that we've provided them. And once they collect all of that, then they can move to the next phase, which is more direct in-person community engagement. So they already have all this information, and they will probably be identifying common themes from all the information that is flowing into them. And then they're going to take that information and use that to more focus, to drive more focused conversations around what those common themes are. And then take that information, they're just constantly refining the information and refocusing the information to get to a final strategic plan.
Did that satisfy your curiosity there, Cliff?
Cliff is either not listening or I'm mute, not.
No, I'm hearing, Mavis, I hear every word you say. Yeah,
As
and
always.
no, and that does help me. I'm just trying to, yeah, I'm just trying to get my and I just want to apologize. I shared with Cheryl Strathman that we had a loss in our family last night at 4 o'clock. So I'm trying to juggle a couple of things in the background
sorry,
here
Cliff.
while we're doing this, but I'm trying to be specific, and that was the one point that I've had this whole time is when we go to the public, how are we, how are we preparing that? And Cheryl, I respect that we don't have it prepared yet. We're going to tailor it. So
That's right. That's
Yes.
correct. So, and we appreciate you being here this morning.
Madam Chair.
Mr. Gripe has his hand up first, Miss Mavis.
Thank-
John Gripe?
Thank you. Thank you. So I'm appreciating hearing all the detail, but I'm getting this uneasy feeling in my stomach that what apparently is driving the process is the input that we're going to get from stakeholders. And I went through the list, I counted way over 100 stakeholders listed. And now we're apparently, and there's can be good reason behind it, but we're going to involve potentially every person in Kane County that wants to come to one of these things. So now we have, could be, I know we won't get tens of thousands of people, but what's concerning me is that we're letting the questions drive the process instead of saying, here, what are the things that we want the process to determine? We're going to say, well, what does everybody want to say? What are the questions everybody want to have and then that will drive the process. And at the end of the day, I'm saying to myself, when I see this final document, I don't know that it will be as useful as a document that we could say, or a process that will say we'll have focus on these certain things, these 5 things, these 10 things, whatever, however many there are, rather than letting all the people who are involving being involved in this drive that. So we don't need to address that now, but that's kind of the concern I have at this point.
And I would just say to you, John, I think you're putting the horse before no, the other way around, the cart before the horse a little bit here. We need to create some structure so that when we open it up to the public, it's not going to be just helter skelter. We're going to have some organizational decisions here in the subcommittee before we enter into the public. Is that not correct? And I'm getting nods from
Yes.
Kathy and Paul.
Yeah.
So,
I would
okay.
agree, Cheryl, but if I may, I think, that structure has this isn't the first time a strategic plan has been done by the consultant. So maybe they could give us what other counties have done as a draft structure, and then we can pick and choose or alter from that rather than trying to, I think we're kind of creating this from scratch, and it's great input, but that's my concern.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Ms. Bates.
Mr. Gripe, John, I think what you're concerned about may turn out to be the strength of this whole process. As Ms. Hopkins has in her first slide, we want to find out what's important and not important to our constituents. I have a short PowerPoint slide after this that I wanted to explain to me what the benefits are. I believe that this presentation right now that we're looking at is the technical details of how we're going to create our strategic plan, but it doesn't talk a lot about why we want to do this. And I think a big why is to know what our constituents want us to do. There's a funny saying like, I have to go follow those people and find out where they're going because I am their leader. We have to find out where they want us to lead them to. So I'm looking forward to this. I think it's going to be a strength of the process to pull in as many comments from as many people as we can. And then I know Barry, what's her name? Barry Dunn will put them through filters and programs and come up with the themes. So I hope you don't feel concerned about that. I think it'll be a strength.
But I look forward to seeing that, Mavis. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, was there more, Paul? from you?
Just the last slide, next slide, thank you. So then the final phase, and these phases are, oh, there's a few more. The analysis and reporting phase, doing stakeholder interviews, community forums, environmental scan. I think we just actually have already talked about this. The next slide. Then sort of the final phase, and they're going to be coming in here again in November to do an in-person strategic planning workshop. So they'll have 1 4-hour session with county board members and 1 8-hour session with department heads, elected officials, and other county leadership staff. So at this point, they're very far along in collecting all of their information, and they're bringing that all together at the end. Again, constantly refining everything. And these sessions will help develop the strategic plan, the objectives of the strategic plan, the benchmark indicators of the strategic plan, with a final goal to deliver a draft sometime in December, possibly January.
Madam Chair?
And
Thank you. Kathleen, I was just checking really quick the date, first draft of strategic plan presented to the county board in a work session the week of 12/19. Take a look at that date. You may want to either move it up a week earlier or a week later after the holidays, because the 19th is a Friday. As you've been going through dates, I've just been checking them on the calendar. We're far enough ahead to make those arrangements.
Thank you.
all right, and the last slide is implementation planning. So in order for a strategic plan to be a working document, a dynamic document, is to build into it objectives with the benchmarks, and implement it into the process here. And that was part of the RFP that was sent out, was to ensure that there would, the winning consultants would assist the county with implementation. So the implementation is, how do we build reporting on the objectives, the status of achieving those objectives, the status of achieving specific benchmarks? How do we build that into the day-to-day communication that's done here at the county? Is that through committee reports? Is it done through a website? That will be determined, but that was part of this, the request that was put out to consultants was to assist with implementing the day-to-day reporting on how the county is doing against those objectives.
Ms. Bates?
I went back and watched the April 22nd Committee of the Whole for fun. And she talked a lot about the strategic plan and the implementation plan. We're paying for both, correct?
Yes.
Good. Okay. I have another
Good
question.
Good distinction there.
Okay.
Yes, again?
So I've been looking at websites like DuPage County, use Barry Dunn for their strategic plan. It's about 20 pages long, and I was hoping for 100. What are we gonna get? 20.
I would
20
say,
pages?
I can't speak on behalf of Barry Dunn, but I would say their answer might be something along the lines of, a lot of it depends on what we want out of it and what is the best document that will benefit King County.
The
Is
20
it a 100-page
pages.
document? Is it a 20-page document? What works best for us to help us manage to these objectives that are identified?
The 20 pages were very good. I don't know what level, I think one answer would be too much detail can just bog you down.
Yeah,
Sure.
So
okay. Mr. Roth, you had a comment?
I did. A follow-up to Mavis's question. There's two parts. Was that price the full price? We're not paying extra to get those two parts?
That's the whole price.
And then the next question, because this is the question I kind of asked last week at special exec, how much have we spent so far, or how much will be spent in the 24 budget versus that whole 120,
Do you mean 26 budget?
25 budget, sorry.
Nothing has been
Well, we're
spent
working
in
on our-
24.
No, I know. I misspoke. 25
how
right
much?
now, because it looks like the majority of the work appears to be being done this year. Are we paying, or are we going to pay it all in 26?
Kathleen, I don't know if I,
So they just sent us the first invoice last week. Their goal and the original request that was put out was to complete this whole project this year. It got delayed in its start. But they are, we've communicated with them that we would still like to have this done this year. So we are working as fast as we can. I can't imagine that it won't roll over into 26. It's most likely going to roll, some aspect of this will roll over into 2026. I'm sure there'll be a draft report that's delivered, and there'll be lots of comments and feedback, and they will have to update their report, and that most likely will.
And if I could
roll
ask,
over
when
into
you say
26.
it will roll over into 26, do you mean our payment to them as well, or are you just talking about the process?
Yeah, I mean, we would typically, with any consulting project, you wouldn't fully pay them until they're complete.
Okay, I just. wanted to
So
clarify that.
they're invoicing us as they complete their work, and we would not pay them until their work is complete.
Okay, a follow-up to that.
Yes, Mr. Roth?
So it's in the 25 budget to pay for that. Is that correct?
Yes, the entire cost, the 127,000, was in the 2025 budget. when the budgets were being developed, and this is how it works in a lot of departments. When you're working on large projects, especially a lot of capital projects, things that can get delayed, as part of the budgeting process, typically the best practice in budgeting is to, if you're not sure if the project is going to be completed in 1 year, you rebudget it in the following year. This happens a lot with capital projects like building projects, road and bridge projects. It doesn't mean that there's more cash or that you're using more cash. It's just you're rebudgeting the money because it's very possible, who knows, right? This whole project could be delayed again. And the budget is adopted once. So if you were uncertain, you should rebudget it. That doesn't mean, as I said, it doesn't mean that there's a request for more cash. It's just the budget.
So
Mr.
a
Roth?
clarification on that. So it was all budgeted in 25. And don't we normally, if a capital project, we reallocate the 25 budget dollars, which would have been allocated and approved to be spent the remainder in 26? Am I saying that correctly?
Right. But the, again, sort of the best practice in budgeting. So if you have a very large capital project, let's say you're building a road, I'll use that as an example. And you budgeted to spend $1 million in 2025, but something happened on that road project in the middle of 25 and your whole project is delayed. And you weren't aware of that ahead of time. If you don't, and you know that it's going to be resolved and you're going to spend that $1 million next year. If you don't rebudget that as part of your next year budget, then you're going to have to go back to the board and get an amended budget.
Right.
And so sort of the most efficient way is just to rebudget it.
So,
Right.
Mr. Sir,
If you have any sense that you might not pay for it.
And then related to that is how much are we spending this year? I mean, we're talking the 127, but if we spent 100,000 this year, then we're looking to spend 27,000 in 26. And that was one of the questions I said we need to decide, because that will help determine, do we cancel this project or do we let it continue? You know, what % are we done?
What was the invoice, Madam Chair?
okay, Kathy, did you want to answer? Did you want to respond to Mr. Roth?
The question on, so if we spent 100,000 this year, and they completed the remainder of the project in fiscal 26, the county would spend 27,000
Right.
next year.
Right. And we don't know that. I don't think we know that answer right now. Do we, that what we will spend in 25?
No,
But that's the question of the day.
I mean, the goal is, and again, the goal was to start this project in February, but it got delayed and that was unexpected. It got delayed until July. So even our consultants have had to rearrange some of their schedules, but they are on board to get this completed this year.
Okay, Mr. Surges, you had your hand up.
Yes, thank you. Hey, there's just two quick questions on this. And Kathleen, I understand the delay on this, and we got out of the chutes a little rocky, and we're trying to make the correction. But in my mind, I just wrote on a piece of paper two things. Are we rushing this at this point, at this late time in the year, to try and get something done just for budgetary purposes? And then secondly, does any of this jeopardize? There was a notion made, and I get it, tax money is tax money. It doesn't matter where it came from. But there was a notion made that possibly moving these to the funding from the riverboat, is there anything that's been presented today going forward that would jeopardize reimbursement or expenditures from that riverboat funding? Because I think, Bill, if I'm not missing where you're going with this, we do have a budget crisis. This is an important thing. We're trying to balance the two. How do those two notions play with each other?
You're right.
Madam Chair, would you
Madam
like to
Chair
answer
wants-
that?
Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Sturgis, for answering that question and the concern from Mr. Roth. Presently, the Riverboat Fund, the Riverboat Committee has not yet met. For taxpayers, realize that this is not taxpayer money. This is money that we receive directly from the Grand Victoria Foundation as part of their contract with Kane County. This is mandated by the state of Illinois. That's what it was agreed to. So it is not taxpayers' money at all. So just to put that straight, if this money is approved of by the Riverboat Committee and thereby gone through the board, then this goes off the rolls of taxpayer dollars and goes on to riverboat money, which once again, the requirements of that is environment, education, and economic development, which I believe that, or energy, I'm sorry, environment, economic development and
Education.
education. I did say it right. So that's what it's geared for. This is truly in economic development for us, and suits completely in that jurisdiction that is required by the Riverboat Grant.
And Madam Chair, I'm sure you understand my questions there are very poignant to make sure that we're staying laser focused. And, you know, because if we're counting or if we have an anticipation of possibly using the riverboat funds, that we're staying within the context and guidelines of those parameters.
Absolutely. I completely agree with you, sir.
Thank you.
And Ms. Bates, you had a question or a comment? No, okay. Okay. Do you have
Excuse me.
anything else to share with us? Okay,
No.
do we have it? We have some questions for them before we move on to Mavis's. Yes, Mr. Linder.
Yeah, Ms. Bates earlier asked a question and she seems to have forgotten to repeat it. What's the dollar amount of the invoices you received?
Yes, I did ask that question.
Hang on one second.
What was the question again?
What's the invoice?
Amount of the invoice. I will get that for you in one
Thank you.
second.
Maybe it's $1. What? It's $1.50.
Thank you for reminding me.
While Kathy's looking, I think
Yeah.
Mr. Gripe has his hand up.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a quick question and kind of like what several other people are saying, you know, we basically got this process started kind of back in April, maybe a little after, and we hadn't heard anything for a long time, but I wasn't terribly concerned because I don't know that there should be a rush to finish this project. I mean, we haven't done one of these for almost 20 years. So I would rather, whether it's 20 pages Mavis or 100 or 200, you know, to get the right number of pages, but more importantly, to get the process to work through. And if I was on the consulting team, having to interview well over 100 stakeholders and potentially thousands of people in the county, I'd feel pretty rushed. So I don't know that we have to say it's got to be done by March, you know, if we're going to do this.
Yeah,
we
John,
should
I
be-
wouldn't want that gun to my head.
Yeah,
know?
right. I'm just saying, I don't think we need to rush them because and not that we are, but I don't know that there is a rush to finish this. We should do it right. We should let the consultant, if they end up doing the work, that we should say, you know, let's just take our time to do it right. Not too much time, but let's take our time to do it right. My other concern is obviously Kathy's put a lot of work into this. My concern is at a time when we're asking staff to do a lot of extra things and whatnot, that rushing the process might also, or expediting the process, might also cause staff to be focusing on this instead of other priorities. So anyway, I don't know that we need to go, that let's just do this right and be proud of a document if and when it does come out.
Okay, thank you, Ms.
I
Chair?
believe, John, those are very good thoughts. But was also a consultant who did worked with organizations who went through strategic planning. When you work with a consultant, an expert in this field, which obviously they are, they tell you their timeline and they have other clients. So they make room for their own capacity of how much time they can give a project. I'm just speaking, I have not spoken to Barry Dunn about this, but I would have to assume that we are in their schedule right now for work and they're going to donate this amount of time to us. If the time takes a little bit longer, they will accommodate, they have accommodated us with this pause as we're getting kickstarted with this. Staff has been committed to this. There was no wringing of hands and saying, you got to get it done. They're excited and enthused about working on this project. It's inspiring, I would assume, as it is to me, and I hope other board members. So I think we have to trust the people that we have hired to know what would be a proper timeline. And if it takes a little bit longer to do the documentation, whether it's a 20-page summary, which is a guideline, and then the backup data, which is 100 pages or whatever, to implement what that is. If we go back and take a look at what the questions are, all those documents can be put together. And that does not have to be, the backup does not have to be presented to the board in March or February. That can be assembled as a separate document by staff and put together for further consideration.
And I think Kathy started out by saying this is a working document and we, it's all in process. Is
Right.
that correct?
So the governance structure of this subcommittee, that structure is to review these deliverables. And so things like, what are the 6 categories that go up on the social pinpoint site? What are the survey questions? Those would all be considered deliverables. The draft, who are the stakeholders, who's on the stakeholder list? What does the draft deliverable look like? Those are all things where this governance structure, that is the role of this subcommittee. And the invoice, their first invoice was $3,000 for the development of the specific work plan, which is attachment A, which including the revised dates. So $3,000.
$3,000.
Okay,
Madam
Ms.
Chair.
Bates?
Thank you, Mr. Gripe, for worrying about us. I am eager to have this in our hands. I don't want to rush it, but I don't want to let it become delayed or bogged down. I'm eager to steer us in the right direction. And I think this document, I can't wait to get it in my hands. So as Kathleen put in, and Ms. Hopkinson put in her first slide, we want to know what's important to Kane County. So we can do what's important to our constituents, to our people. And Mr. Surges, they are not going to interview 1,000 people or thousands. They are going to let thousands of people put little Post-it notes up on this website so that we can crunch those ideas. Years ago, I guess when I was first running for the Kane County Board, my little joke was, if anybody asked me what I've been reading lately, it was an easy answer, the 2040 plan. If you've read the 2040 plan, which is mostly about land use and development, it's a fantastic, fascinating document. I'm not even being funny. It's a fascinating document. And I've talked to people, I'll use Karen Miller's name in vain here a little bit. She said, sometimes when she doesn't know exactly what we should do in a situation, she goes and gets the 2040 plan. And I'm hoping that the strategic plan will do the same thing for us. When we say to ourselves, I don't know exactly what we should do next, we'll grab our 2025, 2026 strategic plan and know what to do. It's going to be our steering wheel for the next 5 years. So I don't want to rush it, but I sure don't want to let it lag behind.
And I think those are all very good points. You're absolutely right, Mr. Gripe. We do not want to rush this. This is too important. But this is where this is why you hire the professionals, because they have a guideline, they have a history, and they can guide us with what the timeline and the steps should be. And But again, this is all a work in progress. So yes, Ms. Bates.
I want to speak to the idea of hiring a consultant versus doing this in-house.
Yes.
There was a time, well, before I knew better, I thought, oh, we'll just do it in-house. And then as we falter here a bit or, debate, I think, well, could we do it in-house? We can't do this ourselves. We don't know how to set up a website and reach out to actually thousands of people. And the more people who are involved in this, the better the plan will be. We don't know how to do that. These consultants do.
Well, and I think it would also be taking away our staff from their regular
Oh, that
work
too. Yeah.
and doing something. And that is why we hire the professionals so they can guide us. And staff input is going to be really important,
Okay.
but they're going to have some guidance as well.
Okay.
So
I have some slides.
now Miss Mavis Bates is going to present her slides with us this morning.
I may have given away the.
That's okay.
I think I might have unburied the lead already. Can you bring up my slides, please? Okay, I put my name on this one because it looks just like the other one. So I felt like Ms. Hopkinson and Mr. Paul were going to talk to us mostly about the technical aspects of the plan, how they're doing it, the timeline of it. But I wanted to talk a little bit more about why we are doing this. So I want to point out the fact that this was copied word for word from Google. This is not plagiarizing. This is cutting and pasting. But it is a great place to start. I just said, why do we need a strategic plan? What are the benefits of a strategic plan? So a strategic plan provides a county with a future-oriented roadmap, informed decision-making, aligns budgeting with priorities, promotes a unified vision across departments. These are all, I know we're so concerned about spending the money on this, but when you think about it, this plan, a good strategic plan, I think should last 5 years. Oh, Ms. Hopkinson, I'm sorry to surprise you. A strategic plan should last about 5 years, would you say? Is that expectation?
It depends. It
Okay.
could be 3, 5. I mean, I would think most organizations are updating strategic plans minimum probably every 5 years.
So
After 18 years, it's time, maybe.
So I'm just doing the math in my head, about $125,000 divided by 5. We're spending $25,000 a year to know where we're going and what we're doing. Okay, key benefits include improved resource. This is all about money. Anybody who's worried about the money, listen to what we're really saying here. Aligns with budgetary priorities, improved resource allocation, that's really money. Enhanced community collaboration, well, that's not so much money, but that is doing our job right. Proactive identification and mitigation of talent challenges. So let's say we know that King County is going to flood someday. Is Ms. Wolnick still here? No, she left.
She got
Okay.
flooded out.
She's my fighting expert. We know that some things are going to happen someday, so we can have a plan for that. Increase accountability, we all want that, and ability to achieve long-term sustainability and growth by responding effectively to citizens' needs. We all want our residents to know that we are here for them. How else are we going to do it unless we ask them? Okay, next, please. Okay, how can it help us save money? I know I already said this, but I'll say it again. A strategic plan can save a county money by identifying inefficiencies. This plan is not specifically about inefficiencies, so that might not work for this particular plan. But prioritizing critical services, what do our citizens and our residents want? And proactively managing finances to reduce future costs. What can save us more money than understanding where we're going? Okay, by creating a roadmap, the county can align its budget with organizational priorities rather than reacting to short-term needs. I know that sounds like jargon and gobbledygook, but when you think about what it really says, there have been too many times that we've reacted to short-term needs and wasted money. I'm not going to say what, because I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings about projects that went awry or things we thought we wanted to do and we didn't. But this plan will help us avoid those situations where we do spend a lot of money going in the wrong direction. So organizational priorities rather than short-term needs. It's the short-term needs that we want to avoid. We want to think of a long-term. Next, please.
Mr. Sturgis, I see your hand. Can you wait till Mavis is done? She has just one more slot.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, as Yogi Berra would say, if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there. So we want to get on the right road. We need to know where we're going. We don't want to go off on tangents that can be costly. We need to know where our constituents want us to go, and we need to be on the right road for the future. So let's not let Yogi Berra be our guide, our guiding light.
You don't want a Yogi Berra GPS.
So if you don't know, so let's know where we're going and get on the right road. That's all.
Mr. Sturgis.
Mhm.
I just wanted to chime in just a little bit on those timelines. In my past experience with these, with the Village of East Dundee, the Village of Gilbert's, and several corporate structurings, sometimes sometimes we're so far behind the 8 ball that it is imperative to say, hey, listen, here's the 20-year strategic plan. We need to improve the Route 47 corridor or the downtown area of this. And that's not going to happen in 5 years, but that's the goal. And we need to break that down into bite-sized pizzas. And then we would reevaluate and make whatever course corrections we needed to as we continued to go along. So I don't want to just, mic drop and say, hey, every 5 years we want a new one of these, but to say sometimes if you haven't done it in 18 years, sometimes charting where you want to go is really important. And whether that's the 2040 plan, 2050 plan, whatever you want to label it, but then saying we're going to come back every few years and just kind of evaluate, if you will, and right the ship or make whatever corrective actions because of technologies or problems or things that would have come up. I just want to. It's not always a 5-year, and sometimes we do need to just look a little bit bigger. But that, and I don't mean that to be confrontational in any way. So
No, I think that's a good point.
Sure, that's a great point, Cliff.
Yeah, and I think that's what we will be determining. We haven't, we're saying 5-year right now, but there may be things that we need to put in place by 5 years so that down the road it, is something we can accomplish. But we're talking about deliverables and measurable projects that we can figure out where we want.
yeah, Cheryl, I know for KDOT alone, just getting that Randall Road over I-90, that ain't no 5-year project. That'll be 20 years, but so
Exactly.
important to what this county's going to look like in the north end.
Exactly.
Yeah, when it's all. Sorry about that. Thanks.
Well, and I heard recently that the people are often ahead of government, and everybody knows government moves pretty slow. So I think one of the ways that we can find out where the people are and what they want to know is to get input from them. And I think the virtual Post-it notes is fabulous. So yes, Ms. Bates.
My point about 5 years or 10 years or 3 years is the $125 will be spread out over much more than this 1 year. It's an investment.
Yeah, Mavis, I understood that.
And like the famous Cliff Sturgis once said, sometimes you have to spend a buck to make a buck.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay, well, I think we have our work cut out for us. Yes, Kathy.
If I can just kind of go over the next steps or the action items, and we'll have Paul send these action items out via email to all the members of the subcommittee. There's 4 things that need to be reviewed. One, so one is the 6 categories, which is attachment C, I believe. Are these the 6 categories? And I will say that many hours were spent coming up with those 6 categories by staff. was harder than you think to sort of condense everything down into 6 categories.
Yeah.
And one thing that was helpful to the staff who were trying to come up with the words for those 6 categories. One thing that was very helpful, and that was part of all of our conversations, was to focus both the categories and the survey questions, build it in the framework of what does the county do?
What does the county do?
What
I
does
think
the
that's a
county
great
do, rather
list.
than have an open-ended question? Because an open-ended question could end up delivering input from the public or any other stakeholder that has nothing to do with what the county does. It could be some other service that the county doesn't do. So that was one thing that was part of our thinking, was we needed to ensure that these categories reflect what does the county do. So number 1 would be these 6 categories. Are they good to go, or do they need to be modified in any way? And we can only have 6. We can't have 7. We can only have 6. Yeah. Number 2, the survey, the draft survey. Please review the draft survey. And if you have changes to the draft survey, I would imagine that there will be from the subcommittee members. So if you could send those to Paul, any revisions, and perhaps there needs to be another subcommittee meeting, I don't know, to go over the survey questions. And again, as a reminder on the survey, this is the template that we were given to use. If the questions need to be phrased differently, or the items in the survey need to be changed, that's what we would be looking for. Number 3, and this is important, is to provide any stakeholders that are not currently on this draft list of stakeholders, provide those stakeholders. So if it's a individual, such as, I believe we have most mayors and things like that on the list already, but if there's a business group or some other group that's not currently on the list, please send that stakeholder to Paul. Yep. And Paul wants to add something on that.
Yeah, just a short addition to that about the stakeholder list. Not every single person on the stakeholder list is going to be contacted directly, or, is going to have an in-person interview. The people that are the highest priority, that we want to get their input the most, they'll probably get in-person or phone interviews. But the people that are further down the list, not saying they're not important, but they're comparatively less important, they might just get referred to this survey link instead. So we'll still capture their input. So, the fact that there may be hundreds of people on the stakeholder list, it's not, not every single person is going to get a phone call. A lot of people, they're just going to say, please, could you take this survey and give your input that way? So, don't hesitate from adding people to the list if you think they should be involved.
Yeah, and on that survey list, there's a column that asks to rank the stakeholder as high, medium, or low. And so that's where that would come in. Like currently, all of the board,
Okay.
currently all the board members are we put high, obviously, because every single one of them will be interviewed. But there's a column right on that spreadsheet. So when you provide any additional stakeholders, provide that ranking.
Mr. Linder, you had a question?
Yeah, when we go back to the categories, when these are presented, are there going to be explanations underneath a little paragraph? For instance, we say public safety and court services. Does the average citizen know that includes the sheriff and the jail, the juvenile detention center? Are we going to make a little broader thing when we put it out?
Yeah, so that is something that the staff members, as we were identifying this list of 6, we talked about, and we are going to yet have this conversation with Barry Dunn. Can we put like a paragraph in front of those 6 categories, welcome to King County. This is what the county does to sort of put those 6 categories in context. I don't see a problem with doing that.
And as a politician, I can tell you, speaking to voters, most frequent thing they say to you is, I don't even know what the county does. So those short titles are not going to get them very far.
I think that's an excellent idea to have a paragraph of explanation.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, we all hear it. Well, what does King County do? So that would be very helpful to have that in the survey for
Yep.
us. So-
Madam Chair, Surges.
I'm sorry, Mr. Surges. Yes, you've had your hand up for a while.
Hey, no, I just wanted to point out, that Cheryl, you're aware that I had a poster created, a couple years back that I used
Absolutely.
at community events. And I just want to acknowledge this because Kathy Hopkinson, I just sent her some information over the weekend. We are creating that into a brochure format. And Kathy, I think specifically my wording to you was, I have constituents that ask me almost daily, what is it that the county does?
Mhm.
And so we've taken that poster and using the resources of the county, meaning Rogers Group, has made that into a trifold brochure that we can use at all of these events. It is not specific to any individual. The first blush of it came out that looked very much like a political piece. We're like, no, that's not where we're going with this. We want to be able to say, hey, we have a sheriff and a coroner and a state's attorney and a blah, 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 blah. But that is specifically to help us get that word out there to the public and say, this is what we do in an effort to try and raise awareness. And I know this isn't really part of the strategic plan, but to not mention this at this moment in time would be an error in my opinion. So
Okay.
Good.
Thank you.
Cool.
Thank you. It's a very cool. And Mr. Gripe has had his hand up.
Thank you. Thank you. Fortunately, it was electronic hand, so the blood hasn't run out of it. But appreciate you recognizing me. Any rate, I think it's obvious that we need to meet soon. This subcommittee needs to meet really soon to go through the things that Kathy's prepared, the things that the consultant is prepared. And as an aside, I would really appreciate it if Kathy and you or any other staff could track the amount of time that you're spending on this, because we appreciate it very much, but I think it would be good to know if this thing is just going to involve a lot of your time. But at any rate, and I would also love, I believe that it was mentioned that the stakeholder list isn't the one that's going to be contacted. If somebody could update that list so that the committee could look at it and say, okay, these are the ones you are going to talk to. And then we could say, we don't think you need to talk to this one or this one or this one, or maybe you missed one. That would be helpful.
Well, that
And-
is part of the job that we as a subcommittee will be doing.
Yep,
We will be
good.
prioritizing that list.
And then the last thing, I don't know if you were kidding, Kathy, but it sounded like you said the 6 categories are the 6 categories and cannot be changed. Is that correct?
Meaning that it has to be only 6.
Okay.
Like
all
you
right.
can't have 7 categories.
Got
And in their methodology, again, as the consultants, this is part of their methodology, because if we had too many categories, it's not going to facilitate the collection of, I'll call it common themes for lack of a better term. So we as staff came up with the words that are on attachment C as the 6 categories. It's a draft. What I'm saying is we can't have 7 categories or 8 categories. We can only have 6.
So 7, just to understand, 7 would not fit into the consultant's process?
They asked for 6. I could ask them for further information, but I'm not, I didn't develop their methodology. I'm just taking a guess here, but probably just the way, going to a website, you don't want to have too many categories that you have to choose from. This way you can go and put it into 6.
I think this is one of those cases where we hire the professional consultant because they have some experience, they know what they're doing. And there was a process that hired this group. And so we have to do a little bit of trusting the process that they're putting before us and that we will work with them. So, yes, Madam Chair.
Mr. Greip, I agree with you with this. I think it's a good question to ask. I would say no more than 7, an odd number, perhaps 5 to 7. But I think it's a good question to ask the consultant of why the magic number from their perception is 6. Why can't there be 7? Why can't there be 5?
Thank
Okay.
you. Cheryl, could we set a meeting today or at least start? working
Yes,
on
I
it?
think we will get talking about that. Just not quite yet, John. So
Yeah, and then item number 4, we have already just started discussions internally, but what would be the locations for specific focus groups and meetings? We had asked if, like other county locations, other county buildings, wherever, but that would be another action item from this meeting. What would be the locations to hold some of these meetings?
and so when you say the focus groups, you mean meeting with the community?
Yeah, when they come in October, and then again,
When the consultant comes in October.
yes, when the
Okay.
consultant comes in, and does their community engagement meetings, where should those be held?
All right, okay. I just found out
Yes.
that I just asked the multi-purpose health building is going to be available in October. And we have space downstairs as well, which can sit 75,
Yeah, I think it's
about 75 people. The other facility I think is larger, could probably sit at least 100. So we've got central, and then here further down, we'd have to, in the Aurora area, we'd have to ask to see if there's a facility in Aurora that could allow us to meet there. And then perhaps our board members who are up in the Gilberts, Pingree, Grove.
The North
Dundee
End throws a
area.
great party, Madam Chair. That's all I'm saying.
So perhaps they could find a location for us further up north to be able to balance that out. We'll rely on our board members to help us find that out. But may I ask a question?
Sure.
Under infrastructure, that is number 7, it says environmental protections of open space and water quality. The only
I'm
concern,
sorry, what page?
I'm on draft page 3 of the questions.
Okay.
When I read that, I was reading it with without having a county board filter on, I said open space. So that's forest preserve. That's the first thing that came immediately into my mind with that. So I want to make sure that whatever we say about open space, that we realize that the forest preserve is a separate taxing body, separate entity. And we have to be cautious that we don't ask questions about the purview of the forest preserve.
That's a very good point. I see all of this as an educational process for all of us on the board, on the subcommittee, and taking it out to the constituents so that everybody has an understanding of what we do, where we are, and where we'd like to see us be in whatever amount of years it ends up being. So to have some focus.
Perhaps renewable energy may be a good question to ask instead of open space.
Right, and I think we need to go back over the categories with that in mind as well.
Okay, absolutely.
So, so you said you were going to send us out our to-do list, our
Action items,
action item,
also
also known as a to-do list. And that is great. And then I think I would ask everybody on the subcommittee to read those. And I am not prepared to pick a date right now for another meeting. We'd have to go over the calendar unless somebody else has another time in mind. Anybody? So let me do a little bit of legwork with that, and I'll reach out to everybody and get some input about when and where. And I think this is off to a really great start. I do have one question that I haven't heard answered. We have talked about the delay. Was the delay on both sides?
No, I mean, the consultants were ready to go. And then we told them that we couldn't start because there was no governance structure
Okay,
to oversee the work.
okay.
Because if we had started right away, we couldn't hold a meeting like this because there would have been no.
Well, and we've been
subcommittee.
kind of busy in the county. So, we've done a lot of work and so I think there was some talk around going out that the contractor was falling down on their contract with us because there was such a delay. But, we're here to write everything and to go forward and to educate. And I'm looking forward to this. So I think that, thank you for answering that, honestly.
Good.
Yes, Ms.
One
Bates.
more question, not too important, but important but small. How are we going to get the word out to get more people to come to the website? Do we picture public speaking at?
I see some
Well,
person.
we've
back here that
we've
might
got,
be-
I mean, one of the reasons for the stakeholders is that all of the stakeholders would be contacted. We have King County Connects. Obviously, there's committee and board meetings. I mean,
We want thousands of responses, right? So I'm thinking, do we go out and do public speaking about this at Kiwanis and Rotary and?
I would
like that?
This
say
would
that
be
you
a
could,
good-
any sort of public publicity.
That'll be a
would
good
be
idea
fine.
for all of us to have.
It's down the road.
Yeah, for how we can, as a group and individually, promote this to get more input and
Okay.
get the word out. So.
Okay, so this is what can the board do to help promote it?
Exactly. Any other questions or comments?
Nope.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for this meeting. This was very informative. I learned a lot. I hope everybody else did too. No questions left from anybody online? Okay, then at this point, well, we did have a quorum, so I guess I can ask for a motion to
Bates
adjourn.
moves to adjourn.
In a second? Everybody want to stay? Could I have a second? To adjourn? Okay, Madam
Second.
Chair, seconds. Okay, thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, I will be in touch. Thank you so much.